Hey guys, I'm back with another video on a very interesting phone. As always, I'm gonna walk you through the highlights of what this phone has to offer and give you some of my first impressions on what I think the brand's done with it. My name's Ash, you're watching C4eTech, and today we are talking about the Xiaomi 14 Pro. This is a phone a lot of people have been looking forward to, and one Xiaomi's also been hyping up a lot. Now to be honest, let me not waste your time. This phone, in my opinion, seems absolutely worth the hype. If you like a fast camera focused flagship that looks and feels nice, one with an insanely bright display, and if you are especially a fan of Xiaomi phones, you're probably gonna absolutely adore the 14 Pro. Now this doesn't mean that this phone is without its quirks. It's a Xiaomi after all. So let's get the unboxing out of the way and take a look at everything the Xiaomi 14 Pro has to offer. Given I'm in China right now, I actually get to remove the plastic of a phone for once. So getting rid of the cover on this sealed 14 Pro box, it feels quite familiar. We've got Xiaomi and Leica branding. Once you open up the box, you're greeted by this black insert with more Xiaomi and Leica branding. Designed by Xiaomi, we have a SIM ejector tool here, a regular quick start guide, the new black case that Xiaomi seems to be offering these days. And this right here, the star of the show, this is the all-new Xiaomi 14 Pro. What I have here is the jade green. This phone is also available in black and silver apart from a special titanium edition. Let me go ahead and boot it up. And as it boots up, let's continue digging into the box. Next, we have a USB Type-A to Type-C cable with orange accents. And the phone's up. This is running on MIUI's successor HyperOS, which we will talk about in a bit. Now the final thing in the box is this 120 watt charger. Now in China, when you buy a Xiaomi 14 or a 14 Pro, Xiaomi does throw in some extras. They include this gift box as a pre-order bonus. It's got the Xiaomi Air 3 SE earbuds, a pretty tiny pair of Apple AirPod style TWS, then there's this pen followed by a faux leather diary. Nice. Now coming back to the Xiaomi 14 Pro, one of the first things you notice when you pick this phone up is this display right here. It's a 6.7-inch OLED panel with 120Hz refresh. The resolution is Quad HD+. Now Xiaomi has done a few things different with this one. First off, it's a curved panel that's not curved. Weird, right? Let me explain. Xiaomi calls this the all-around liquid display because the sides all around the panel have a uniform curve. Now the panel itself isn't curved. What this means is that you still get the nice smooth swipe in from the side feel, but there is no discoloration at the edges, at least as per Xiaomi. In reality, when you look at the panel off axis, there is some discoloration as with regular curved panels, but it is minimal, and Xiaomi, in my opinion, they've done well. The glass covering this display, they call it Xiaomi ceramic glass. It's supposed to be 10 times more drop resistant and 25% more scratch resistant than typical glass. And the panel itself, it's 12-bit with HDR10 and Dolby Vision support. It's got LTPO tech and lets the refresh vary from 1 to 120 Hz as needed for efficiency. And finally, the brightness tops out at an industry-leading 3000 nits, so using this phone outdoors should not be an issue. Now from a build and design perspective, the 14 Pro feels really good. We have a metal frame with a glass back, which of course is very much prone to picking up fingerprints and smudges. I really wish Xiaomi'd gone with the vegan leather finish that we saw on the 13 Ultra. Now that said, as I mentioned earlier, if you're looking for something more premium, there's also a titanium version that Xiaomi offers. Now this phone, the left is clean, we have the secondary speaker up top, and don't worry, the IR blaster is still available, it's just been moved to the back near the camera flash. We have the power and volume keys to the right, and finally at the bottom, here's where we find the primary microphone and speaker, a SIM tray that can take 2 nano SIMs. Yes, this phone has an IP rating, IP68. And then we have the Type-C port, USB 3.2 Gen 2 with a speed up to 10 gigabits per second. Using this port and the included 120 watt charger that we already saw, you should be able to charge the 14 Pro from 0 to 100 in just 18 minutes. Xiaomi has included 2 Surge P2 chips and a Surge G1 to manage the charging. They continue to support wireless hypercharge at up to 50 watts, which should get you a full charge in about 40 minutes, and there's also support for 10 watt reverse wireless charging. Now on the inside, the Xiaomi 14 Pro is the first phone to be powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 SoC. This brute of a chip is paired with up to 16 gigs of LPDDR5X RAM and up to a terabyte of UFS 4.0 storage. As you can see, the benchmark numbers are insane, cracking 2 million on Antutu, which even the benchmarking app thinks is weird. Now, weird or not, either way, this is a very powerful chip on the inside. That said, the 14 Pro remains another Xiaomi phone that's not able to complete the 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme stress test. It got pretty hot and the app ended up closing at around loop 17. So how good this phone is for sustained performance is something that needs more testing. On the software side of things, we get the new HyperOS built atop Android 14, and based on Xiaomi's commitment last year, this phone should get 4 Android version updates and 5 years of security patches, at least if it goes global, which it is expected to a little later. Now, HyperOS is MIUI's successor, and at first glance it doesn't seem to be a drastic change. But underneath, Xiaomi is said to have redesigned a lot, and HyperOS is expected to be more stable, more efficient than MIUI. How it ends up faring is something only time can tell, but for now, my initial impressions, it feels very familiar and is indeed blazing fast. There's a 1016 CyberEngine motor underneath for very precise haptics, and overall the user experience, in my initial impressions at least, it felt really good. Now with optics, here's the big one. Xiaomi's packed in 350 megapixel sensors. First, we have the Light Fusion 900, a 50 megapixel 1x1.3 inch sensor that's been paired with a variable aperture lens, f1.42 to f4. The variable aperture affects a few things. For starters, when you shoot wide open, f1.42 gets you this natural kind of bokeh. Now note that these are standard shots, not ones taken with the portrait mode on. The aperture adjustment also affects how light is captured. See how the light source, in this case the sun, causes a flare when shot at f1.42, but at f4, it causes a starburst instead. Barring this, you get to choose between Leica Authentic and Leica Vibrant. As always, I ended up shooting Leica Vibrant for the most part. Now the images themselves came out detailed with good dynamic range. Now look at this picture. Forget the quality because this wasn't taken with the primary, but rather this was me taking a step back and shooting an ultra wide just to show you guys the scene. See how this area is partly dark, partly well lit. Standing in this doorway, I took this image. See how well the bright and darker areas are captured by the primary? This camera can shoot 8K at up to 30 frames per second. On top of that, we get regular 4K 60, and there's no awkward exposure changes or lens breathing issues here. Xiaomi seems to have done well. They even have this. This is HDR video, though this is capped to 4K 30. Now the second 50 megapixel sensor, it's paired with an ultra-wide f2.2 lens, and the third one's paired with a floating 75mm equivalent lens for 3.2x zoom. Digitally, you can go up to 70x, but at that point we aren't really getting much detail. The 3.2x, on the other hand, that's quite useful for capturing portrait images. This is a regular portrait shot. Now this was with the 3.2x. Nice, right? And finally, we get 4K support for the selfie camera. This camera here can do 4K 60. And the footage is pretty crisp, detailed, and the dynamic range, I liked it. I also found the stills satisfactory. I tried shooting images with my face partially lit, and the 32 megapixel sensor here managed to capture it all without blowing out the highlights. And with portraits, the 14 Pro seems intelligent enough to keep the bars in front of me in focus. And you see the screen recording. Look at the leaves here to my side, and once the picture is taken, boom, they brought into focus. Nice, right? The selfies seem like a major improvement for Xiaomi. And as far as the pricing is concerned, despite being the first 8 Gen 3 and despite all the hardware being put in here, the ceramic glass, an IP rating, a 3000 nit OLED panel, the Leica cameras, now given everything they're offering, the asking price, to me at least, it seems fair. The 14 Pro starts at 49.99 RMB, which converts to about $680 US or 57,000 rupees Indian. In my opinion, Xiaomi seems to have put together a very compelling package, and I can't wait to see this go global. So that's it. Thanks for your time and have a nice day. Bye bye.